how can I effectively use AI at my work?
One of the questions that you should be ready to answer is like, how have you used AI to make your job more efficient?
You can learn a lot from just building an automation workflow. Your prompt will definitely make mistakes because you will need to add additional requirements. If a software that you use to automate certain actions doesn't have an API endpoint that is necessary to achieve your goal, it means that you will not be able to build an automation just using, like a natural language. There are certain aspects where you should not be using ChatGPT.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of SaaSy Moms. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Anya. And today we are going to talk about what you should do or don't do with AI as a product manager. Wendy, honestly, I actually have a lot of people talking to me and just asking, hey, how can I effectively use AI at my work? And honestly, sometimes like PMs feel quite, obliged to learn AI, and a lot of people talk to me, hey, what should I learn in order to be able to stay in the market? Because there is a little bit of a fear that without those skills your job can be obsolete. And
Definitely.
today I would like to address the truth around this topic, at least of what I see, and
Yeah,
where we can, help
yeah, for
product
sure.
managers to be better.
Yeah. And I think one thing to keep in mind nowadays is like any job interview that you are probably interviewing for, one of the questions that you should be ready to answer is like, how have you used AI to make your job more efficient? Because if you
Mhm.
aren't able to answer that, like nowadays, it's like you're kind of, at least on a scale of like multiple candidates that have used AI and you have not, you stand out as the candidate that might not make it through to the next round. Because every job you should be at least um, playing around or like at least incorporating AI into your day-to-day to like make it more efficient. So I'm excited to learn what do you do and don'ts for PMs. So Anya.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first thing to understand is that, today, when we talk about AI, we primarily talk about chat tools which are readily accessible, and that way you can all use, right? So if today you do use ChatGPT in order to ask certain questions and get you certain answers, means you already have some experience and some exposure into using those tools. Obviously, we can all get as advanced as just like building automation flows and using certain programs like N8N in order to just get familiarity with AI. So, like one of the questions that a lot of people ask me is like, "Hey, what should I learn, or what courses or certificates should I take in order to just be able to, talk about AI freely and understand AI in general?" And one of the biggest advice I can just give everyone is, in addition to using your chat tools, use the tools like N8N and try to build an automation workflow. Because just by building this workflow, you will immediately understand what are the challenges today, how this workflow use, what key knowledge you need to know, at least high level, in order to be able to understand what AI is. And of course, as product managers, we have two use cases. Number one, our day-to-day use of AI tools, which likely will mostly be limited to ChatGPT or Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, or Gemini from Google, depending what your organization uses. So this will be your primary tool that will allow you to be more effective. But then when it comes to developing a product, so meaning your board comes to you or your boss comes to you and says, hey, now we need an AI tool. right? This is where you can learn a lot from just building an automation workflow. This will just help you to understand basic structure, like prompt engineering. What does it mean for engineer to write a prompt? Is it easy or not? So this is kind of where I would start. But then obviously we can get a little bit into more details around what everything in these two scenarios mean.
Yeah, like I'm curious to know like what kind of workflows have you created? Just to give like, some of the PMs that might be starting to kind of like get started with. Like what would that be?
Yes, so when it comes to a workflow, one of the easiest workflow you can do is instead of using like a Calendly tool, you can build a workflow where you do scheduling into your calendar. What it will help you is to just understand what type of details and use cases you need to give to this prompt in order to create a calendar invite into your calendar. Again, it's totally useless if your company pays for Calendly or any other tool, but it's very useful for you as to know what type of a prompt precision it needs in order to be successful. So, for example, you might start your prompt by, "Hey, if I'm free, right, like just create a meeting for me at this create a meeting for me." Now, your prompt will definitely, and like your software will definitely make mistakes because you will need to add additional requirements to it. You will have to tell it, "Okay, I'm only available from 8 to 5." Or, "Hey, if there is another meeting, it means it's a conflict. So don't create a meeting at this time." And then you will figure out, okay, it does a great job, but it also creates your meeting on Sundays. So additional kind of prompt and additional scenario, you're going to add it, like you will add, "Hey, don't book my time on a weekend." And then, or, "Hey, I have a stat holiday," right? So your prompt will become bigger and bigger, and you will understand that actually prompt engineering is hard. One of the examples I can give you is like our company, right, created a prototype and we created a prompt. Sounds very easy because everything that engineer needed to do was just to write like, "Hey, analyze this ticket, blah, blah, blah." But the prompt is very, very structured. In fact, in order to identify certain like ticket types or issue types, you actually needed a work of a data scientist who will first analyze data, give you output, and only then you can add it to a prompt. So it's actually much more complex than a lot of people say. Another situation when you're going to be building this workflow, you will discover that the workflows, they heavily rely on API. It means that if a software that you use to automate certain actions doesn't have an API endpoint that is necessary to achieve your goal, it means that you will not be able to build an automation just using, like a natural language. You might need to be a little bit more technical in order to do certain things. So you will discover that API plays a key role. In fact, when I was creating my own my own workflow, which was related more to a content creation, so in using LinkedIn API, I actually discovered that I needed to pay for at least two, three, or even four tools in order to make a workflow work. So let's say at this point, I didn't even create a workflow because I was like, "Oh, I don't want to pay for so many tools." So this also will give you a little bit more clarity of, okay, how does pricing work? We use a lot of token type of pricing, right, where we limit amount of tokens. No one yet can figure out honestly how to make this AI effective from the monetization strategy, which is the reason why Amazon laid off so many people. So monetization becomes very difficult. So all of this is quite challenging and quite new. And I think if you can just start thinking about these things, you already will be quite advanced.
And what was the tool that you said you used again for the
So
work?
I used N8N.
Oh,
So
NHN.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
so
can
we'll
pay
put that
for
in
it.
the.
It has like some samples, templates. It's a regular like tool that just already has those like Google Calendar or Microsoft Calendar. You can like use different components and connect them with each other. And then when you connect those components in between, you create those prompts. You basically explain how this component should interact with another component. And this is really just how API of one tool interacts with API of another tool. You just give it like instructions with a natural language.
Very cool.
So this is just like what you need to learn, like the tool that you need to use in order to learn a little bit more of what your engineers will face and what they will have to think about once they, are given a task to implement AI into the product. Right. So obviously there is another aspect of product management as a job. And in this type of setting, you will mostly use um, chat tools in order to help you with a day-to-day work. And yeah, we can talk a little bit more where I find that these tools are helpful versus not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
One of the examples where these tools help me a lot is actually if I need to like write requirements. Now, many people use and many product managers use these tools to do PRDs, product requirement documents, but they do it completely like from, start to finish. This is not the approach that I personally like to do because I don't like rewriting. When the rewriting is so difficult. But what I like to do is to ask ChatGPT to give me a structure after giving it a prompt. And then I also like ChatGPT to actually give me a little bit more details on how certain actions need to be performed, which is very cool. Because if before I was using, interviews as a way to understand, hey, I have this like task. I need to talk to my users in order to understand how they perform this task. Right now, these chat tools are pretty great at identifying like how the user will actually like perform this task. Obviously, it's still limited. Like it needs to get a like double check. Like you still have to double check, but I think it's much better when you have a flow already defined, and all you have to do is just talk to one or two users in order to clarify if this is the flow that you are like if this is a correct flow versus talking to like 6 8 users and then summarize this, and it becomes a little bit difficult. So I guess this is my biggest hack for product owners, product managers who are writing requirements and who are creating this type of structured product requirement documents.
Yeah, I really like that tip.
Yeah, another thing where I obviously use ChatGPT as everyone else, I guess, is like crafting emails, crafting responses, getting my ideas on the responses. Very useful for me as an immigrant because I can't frame sometimes maybe certain thoughts correctly. So it definitely helps me to figure out like my English better, as well as give like maybe a little bit more softer versions of my emails. So that is definitely somewhere where I like using it. Now, something that I want to, warn is that there are certain aspects where you should not be using ChatGPT or anything at all. And first and foremost, this is related when you are trying to shape your ICP, like ideal customer profile. So you can brainstorm your ideal customer profile with ChatGPT, but I will not suggest using it. I wouldn't trust it. I think every business has quite unique customer profiles, even though they might be similar on high level, but they can be very, very difficult underneath the surface. So I wouldn't ask ChatGPT to do like a vision for you, a strategy for you, ICP for you. As well as I wouldn't ask ChatGPT to give assumptions on how certain, like, what type of problem your customers have. I would still do, interviews with customers old ways, as always. Well, I will talk to customer. I will understand what they're saying beyond words because, as I mentioned already, ChatGPT is not great in figuring out the context underneath of what has been said. So one of the example, recently I talked to a customer and I was trying to figure out if this customer liked a feature that we have built or that we were planning to build. So the customer said, "Yes, I like this, and and it will be useful." And then I asked another question because I doubted it, and I doubted it based on just how their team is structured. And then I doubted it, but the customer said, "Yes, it's useful. I like it." And so I already was like, okay, well, maybe he does like it. So we started chatting. I figured out like how their current process it. It was still quite weird for me that he liked this tool because it's just based on their current process, it just doesn't fit into their entire workflow. But then at the end, when we started brainstorming certain ideas, this customer got super, super excited about a super different topic. And when at the end I wanted to, like when at the end I was asking, okay, so would you prefer this or that? They still kind of said that they like the tool that we are building, but they would prefer a different task. So I just don't see how ChatGPT can help with that, even with a summary of this interview, because the person said that they like our prototype like 3 or 4 times. But just internally, I just don't think that this customer will get as big of a value and is as excited about it as from certain other workflows that we can build for them. And this is definitely where I think product management role evolves. It evolves into being more strategic. It evolves into being more like visionary, and it evolves into a scenario where human actually becomes even more important than before because now a human will have to filter out whatever like the software can lead you towards. So you have to be extra vigilant, you have to be extra ready to say no, not only to human beings and stakeholders, but also be confident to say no to the tool that, maybe follows you into a different direction or directs you into a different direction.
I think that's a very critical point to make as well. I think people fall into the trap of like, hey, I can leverage ChatGPT to like analyze a bunch of my data,
Hmm.
things like that. And I think it's missing that context. Like you said,
Yeah.
right? Like probably ChatGPT would summarize that call and be like, oh, the customer loved it. Because they said like loved it, I don't know, like 4 or 5 times.
Four
And
times,
then,
yeah.
and then they may have doubted it, but then like they would overpower that by, 4 or 5 times over that one time. So the summary
Hmm.
would have been then like, hey, they loved it. And then you would, go ahead and develop that other one, but forget about the other feature that you mentioned, right? So I feel like that's where I even see product marketing fall into that trap. It's like we leverage ChatGPT to like, I guess like do an overview. And then if
Yeah,
we don't add that context or like, different things into it, then we kind of miss the whole like differentiation. Like you're just every other product out there, you're every other product marketer out there, like you're every other blog or every other like it's like a sea of like the same. And that's how I see
exactly.
a lot of people like think AI should be or could be. And then it's like you kind of
Hmm.
miss the point of like where AI can help and where AI shouldn't. So I think that's a really good example that I think everyone should like really be aware. And you need to really hone in on like where it can and can't. And you have to make that distinguishment, or else that you fall into the trap. It's like, hey, ChatGPT gave me this answer. And it's like you use that as a single source of truth. And it's like, well, did you fact check it?
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so one of the things that it's important to understand that AI augments like any job including PM job, right? It's not replaces it, especially as a PM. So like there is a lot of directive of, oh, let's build AI feature and we have to be innovative. We have to be right now. We just can't, completely skip AI. And that's true, we can't. But your job still becomes exactly the same as it was before AI. As a product manager, you have to find a feature, product, or whatever that customers are ready to, that customers are ready to pay for. So you need to find a pain point that customers are ready to pay for. Just developing AI for the sake of AI, this is what will, lead to failure. So conceptually, as a PM, your job is the same. It's just now you will have to work and think in a little bit of different direction. So with AI, your job will have to be more, first of all, data driven. And not only do you have to scope features as a feature, you now have to scope features that also monitor itself from the data perspective, like how users are use it, because now the number of use cases on how user can use it becomes just enormous. So you have to establish the data pipelines, like infrastructure, into a way of not only introducing a feature, but also ensuring that entire organization has good tracking tools to really define the product success. With AI, as a product manager, your role also evolves into thinking about pricing a lot because people can't figure out a pricing yet. AI is complex because it consumes a lot of CPU and power and can be very expensive. Like your COGS from 95% can immediately drop to 75% just because you will pay a lot of the AWS costs and like everything. So you have to be very careful here. And honestly, your work becomes more strategic like never before, because now you have to track the cost usage, ensure that customers pay for it, and that your company can make a profit. And very, very low amount of companies today can actually figure it out. That's why I believe that with AI, we are going to face the dot-com bubble very, very soon. So if you guys do also your investments, be careful. Because I think that the true leader, AI leader, will be the one who can make profits and make money on AI. And this is where you as product manager can also start thinking and maybe investigating a little bit more, how is pricing and AI go hand in hand together. And so this is like my true thoughts around what aspects you guys should be, focusing on and thinking about in order to become like a truly powerful PM.
Have you seen I'm just curious, like, do you think with AI, traditionally you might hire like three PMs or like one PM and like three PLs or whatever for our products. Would you see that shifting in the near future? Like, no, now I just need like one PM and maybe like one and like less PLs. Like, do you see that shift?
So it's a very difficult question, Wendy,
I
but
was just curious. I know I
yeah.
put you on the spot.
So my honest opinion is that I don't see this to be a case, actually. What I see with AI is if you are proactive and if you are not proactive, sorry, if you are truly building AI, what I see it's actually the AI development cycle of one feature will increase. I don't see, like how before, for example, you can develop a feature, release it, and that's it. I see with AI, you have to be very, very strategic around what it's going to be. And then you have to monitor the feature release, and future feature interaction like never before. Like honestly, like I think the feature development cycle will increase. And with that, you need like the same or maybe even more amount of people, like maybe a PM who is responsible separately for pricing and their entire job is just to price, test pricing, see different type of monitoring. And then a PM who will be responsible for just technical requirements. Maybe a little bit more like technical PM, who understands like infrastructure a little bit better. So realistically, for me, with AI, I think that this role actually is much more deep and requires more expertise. And I actually truly believe that we don't have to like fire any product manager just because AI like is faster or can do certain things faster.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I think nowadays, like every product should at least have some sort of AI or even thinking about it, right? So I think
Exactly.
it's a new set of tools and like you said, like the prompt is not easy. People think
Hmm.
like ChatGPT prompts, like or any other prompts is easy. I'm currently working on a project where we're trying to standardize on the battle cards and things, and like even like a line on the prompts is like so critical. We're like evaluating every single thing, right? So
Yes.
and then like I think prompts help you standardize across the board too. Like if that's how
Hmm.
you approach it, it like the prompt design is what would drive the standardization across your
Hmm.
team. So I think that is really critical as well. But we can chat about it next week too, because we will do the product marketing side of it.
Yeah, I can give you just example, right? I'm currently working on one feature, and this one feature, let's say I want it to automate certain actions, right? But I need to think about so many use cases so that this AI works. In addition to this use case, like maybe standard use cases like, oh, if the user does X or if the user does Y, yes, no, yes, no. But in addition to it, you now have to add an extra use case. And this extra use case says, okay, what if my AI makes a mistake? Another use case, what if this tool is like not available or has an outage? What if that tool is, I don't know, just changed its API? Like, and there is so many things. So my just like one PRD for just one feature, actually like 2x or 3x. Yeah, because if you use certain components with AI, you always have to think about scenario when those components are not available. And it needs to self-learn, it needs to self-test, it needs to ensure the error is not cumulative, right? And potentially you can solve this problem by having a human in a loop, right? So making a human certain decisions. But then this is extra like use case because the human decision will be unpredictable. So this is to your point of how many PMs we'll have. Realistically, it's very, very like it becomes like even more complex job than it was before AI.
Well, I love that perspective, and I think it's really critical, like of what you said. Like you need to really hone in on like where AI could help and where AI can't, and you
Hmm.
need to make that clear for, I guess, like your team as well, and then the people that you work with on the product
Hmm.
management side. So I know this is our favorite segment of the episode, the sassy struggles. So I know we chatted a little bit about this as well because I know you just came back, from your mat leave, slowly getting back to work, and then you're finding a nanny and all that, and I have to travel for work, things like that. And then we were chatting about, just leaving our kid while we may be going on, I don't know, a few hours away or leave them for work or travel. Maybe Anya, you can give us an update on where you're at with that, and then we can chat about like, hey, how have we done it? Where are we struggling? And maybe get some tips from you guys.
Wendy, I actually wanted to use the session as a psychotherapy so that maybe you can tell me how to be able to manage your emotions when you leave your kid alone with someone else and you like are not there for extended period of time.
Well, tell me a little bit about it. Like, do you feel like how do you feel right now? Like when you have to leave your kid with your nanny? I know you're doing like a little bit.
Yes, I feel quite unstable, just like my internet today. So, I mean, realistically, it's just hard. I have so many thoughts because, first of all, I had a trip where I left my kid for like 8 hours with my
Oh
partner.
yeah. Tell me about it. How did
And,
that go?
once I landed in Vancouver, I just wanted to go back home immediately. I was just like very stressed. Even though the day was very great, Aiden was great. Like he was sleeping well, everything was nice. Like they went to walk, everything was totally like fine, and there were no problems. But I was just worried. I was just worried that I wasn't there to be able to control every single step. Now we also have a nanny coming here, and obviously, like I try to like I work in an office in a closed space, which is the best strategy for me because during like onboarding, I still was in the room because I wanted to like help with certain little details, but it didn't work well because my mental health was just suffering. Because of course, I want everything to be done certain way, but this wouldn't be executed. To repeat myself multiple times, I'm like, "Hey, you know what? Like now I'm thinking like maybe I want my child in a daycare because I can't manage this. Like just having a child at home
Yeah,
or
I
me at
and
home.
I
Like I need to go somewhere. I need to not be
yeah.
able to see what's happening."
Yeah, yeah. So I think for me is it was a challenge for me too. Definitely I wouldn't like undermine it, but I think I've learned to let go. I I think you and I are very similar. Like we're type A personality, so we want to control every single aspect of our day to day. Like obviously our work, our thing, and then it's like how we interact with our kids. And I think it's really, really tough because I think there was a lot of tension even like between like me and my husband. Like, he does things a certain way. And I'm like, why aren't you doing it my way? But I think it's like what you said, just put yourself in another room so you don't see it. And then I think that helps a lot. So and then just slowly it will help you be like, okay, like, you know what? The nanny, even though she might be doing it a certain way, or my husband is doing it a certain way, or your partner or your mom, whatever it is, you don't see the process, but the outcome, it's like, it's fine. They're fine. And then I think through that, you kind of learn to be like, okay, like I can breathe, I can let go. But I was very similar. I think it's I think the challenge is like when you are the sole caretaker in a way because you have been on mat leave. And I think it's like for Canada as well. You're on mat leave for like, good, I don't know, 6 to 12 months at least, right? Sometimes even 18 months. And you're the primary provider. So your kid relies on you so much. So you feel like you are so dependent on. And then now you have to like kind of strip that away. And then now you're like, okay, what is my identity? At least that's how I felt. It's like, oh, what is my identity? I'm not a great mom because I'm not there like 24/7 and I can't control every little aspect. I can't control how much he eats. I can't control how much like he drinks and like things like that. And I feel like I wasn't doing enough. And I don't know why it is like this mom guilt, like on different stages. But I think after I let go and like knowing and seeing the outcome, it helped me like internalize this and like process it. And I was okay. I think it takes a while though. I'm saying this as like a mom of now an 8-year-old. So
Oh, yeah, it's very challenging. For me, it's not about even identity. It's about the fact that like I manage certain like little aspects. Like I care about my child, like how much they're active, how much they're walking, how much they're sitting, and maybe I'm a little bit, like very hard to delegate this type of things because I feel like no one understands my child's psychology better than me, so they can't figure it out, or I don't know.
yeah, it's like I think you can like give them guidance. Like you can just be like, hey,
Yeah.
like this is what I usually do. And then
Hmm.
like if you don't do this, and if I see that he doesn't get enough like exercise, for example, like it affects his sleep. So like I think giving people like your what you know, and then it's like they can take it and then apply it. Um, I think would be helpful. Just because like you do need to work, right? Like you want to work. So
Exactly.
how do you get that? You know? And
So,
then
so, so I have a question for you, Wendy, because I'm like, honestly, for me, it's always was mind blowing and shocking when you can go to conferences for a couple of days.
yeah.
So, what are your tips? Like, how do you successfully delegate things to your husband or relatives and you don't go insane during the conferences?
Yeah, so I think the delegation, I think it's like now that my kids are older now, so it's a lot easier. But thinking back is like I would tell them like basically what I just told you. It's like I noticed that like, they don't they usually sleep around 8. They might struggle if they don't have like let's say enough exercises or like don't have enough to eat during dinner and they're like now they're hungry at like I don't know 7:30 or 8 and then now it's like they're delaying bedtime and once they delay bedtime this is like this is what would happen because I've experienced it and then just letting them know like the reason kind of behind the kind of the structure of the kids because like my kids were really structured like they would be bed by like they go to brush their teeth at this time they go to bed at this time and I think it's just like telling like helping them understand like why there's such a structure and then it's like especially for my mom right because my mom helps out when I go on trips because like sometimes like Nan would have to like work afternoon or whatever, so the timing doesn't work. So he like my mom is not as familiar. So I think just giving them the guidance on like why this happens in a certain way, it's not like I'm a dictator. It's more just like this is how they behave the best based on my experience. So like you can try it. You can fall out of that. But these are the consequences that I have seen firsthand it's like they won't sleep until like 9:30 or 10, or like,
Hmm.
they wake up in the middle of the night because they didn't have enough to eat, like things like that.
Hmm.
I think helped solidify like kind of the plan. And obviously there are things that I'm like, you know what, as long as like they're fine, they're working out, they're going to school, that whatever it is, like I am good. And I probably they have missed a bunch of things that I don't even know. So I think it's just like, here's the plan, here's why, here's the consequences. I trust that you can do it. That's one. But I think when you ask me, it's like, how do you even like go for a few days when your
Hmm.
kids may be like, hey, you're the primary provider? I think what has really, really helped me and like it's giving my kids like advance notice. Like if I'm going on a trip, let's say in like December, I will tell them like start telling them like maybe November. I'll be like, hey, mommy's going on a trip for like a few days, in like 4 weeks. And then they'll be like, oh, what's 4 weeks? I'm like, 4 weeks is like, I don't know, 30 days, which means like 30 sleeps. So they at least like have some sort of concept because they have no idea like Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, they
Hmm.
have no idea. But they do understand like how many sleeps. So I kind of try to like tell them like this, and then like maybe a week before, it's like, hey, like I'll be like flying on an airplane, and then like in five sleeps, and then I'll be back. Like the night before, I'll be like, hey, I'll be back in like 4 sleeps. So they like know exactly what to
Hmm.
expect. And then during the time when I'm away, like I would usually like leave like little things. Like small notes or like drawings and things like that. Like sometimes I'll leave it under their bed, like or in the closet. So they will find it some like random stuff. So at least like I'm not there, but they still feel like they're connected
Hmm.
some way, and they actually love it. And I do this even occasionally for their lunch boxes and things. I'll leave a note, like leave a drawing, something like
Hmm.
that, just so like they feel connected, especially during the first few weeks when they're transitioning, like a new school
Hmm.
or a new preschool or a new like daycare. So like at
Hmm.
least they feel like they're connected.
Hmm.
And then the other thing I do when I'm away as well is like I try to obviously like do video calls, but as you know, our when we're
Of course.
traveling, it's like
Yeah.
your days are at the conference or whatever.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's hard. So I do try to like even leave voice messages. I might like
Mm.
record a video. So it's like even though I can't do it live, at least I send it to my husband or like my mom so they can like, play it. That's what I do to try to like at least stay connected. And then like I'll give them like, hey, like 2 more sleeps, like I'll be back. And then I'll be like, hey, one more sleep, like, like I'll be back in the
Hmm.
morning, like after you get off from daycare, like I'll pick you up, like things like that. So then like they know what
Hmm.
to expect. So I do those little things just to like stay connected in one way or the other.
Yeah, actually, this brought up a great point. So I think it's like amazing how you do it. So my kid is 10 and a half months when I was living to Vancouver. And actually, I know that the reason the day went well is because I told him in the morning that, hey, I'm going to leave and I will be before a bedtime. So we will do together a bedtime routine. So because I left just like in the morning, once he woke up, I left and then I returned before bed. So I kept him multiple times. It's just crazy how their brains work, despite of the fact that he's so small. And a lot of people say
Yes,
like maybe he doesn't understand, but he does. He
he does.
did.
They
And I
do. They
think this
do.
was actually the reason why he was like calm and chill. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that was like actually like it's not even like as they're older. I find like even like setting expectations when they're a baby, just knowing like what to expect. It's like, hey, like now it's bedtime, and like talk to them like you would, like they're 5 years old. Somehow they just understand it. So like they know what to expect. Because like I'm just thinking like back, I'm like as a kid, it's so nerve-wracking not knowing like what to expect. Because as an adult, you plan your day, but as a kid, like they don't get to do that, to be honest. Like their teacher planned their day, their mom or their dad plans their day, so they have like very little input. So like not knowing what would happen, like of course it would scare me, right? So I think understanding that helps a lot of that expectations.
I think this brings me to a very good point around nannies, is that I think I have to like every morning when nanny is here to have expectation with him, maybe. I will try this. It's a nice tip.
Mm-hmm.
I will just say, hey, today is Monday. You're going to have like a nanny. Mama will be like downstairs working. Anything if happens, it will be there. Like blah blah blah. I will be back before I will walk, and then we'll go on a walk together. So maybe I
Yeah,
will just start doing it like every day so that
yeah.
he's a little bit more chill.
Yeah, and then like I don't know when your nanny comes, like is it Monday to Friday? And it's like you can
Mm-hmm.
let him know too. It's like, hey, like I'm working like five days.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time you sleep, like maybe even tell her the night before. Like I know he's young, he might not understand everything, but I feel like it's good to get into those
Yeah.
habits of just setting expectations. Because I don't know, kids, they have these like wild imaginations when
Mm-hmm.
like things aren't explicit. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
how I see it. At least like I think I learned this especially with my oldest because he's like a little bit more sensitive. So like
Mm-hmm.
even when he was really, really young, like any new environments is like I would need to let him know well in advance or else like he would not like, be engaging or like not even try anything when it's a new environment.
Mm-hmm.
But then if I give him like, hey, like we're gonna go to this like new place, like it's gonna have like a lot of people that you might not know, but it's like there are a
Mm-hmm.
few that you do know, and here are the people that you do know. Here's what we'll do, and then we'll have this and that. Like at least like giving them some
Mm-hmm.
expectations of what they can expect in a new place is like I find it super helpful for him
Mm-hmm.
to not go crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather do that work and like multiple times versus having to like manage the outburst or
Yeah,
whatever it is. And I find that a lot
absolutely.
harder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice. If anyone else has extra tips on how to, leave your baby and feel good about it and make baby feel better, or like a child, I don't know, like a toddler or like a 5 years old child, let us know and let everyone know. And maybe we will incorporate those tips in our daily life.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love to hear from everyone. Well, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of SaaSy Moms. If you like this episode, please remember to subscribe and leave a comment. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye for now.